In One Piece chapter 1131, Luffy's conversation with Loki is loaded with foreshadowing for the Elbaf arc. But the biggest clue it gives us for the end of the arc is who the final antagonist is going to be. I know it might seem crazy, but hear me out. The final antagonist of Elbaf is Blackbeard, and he's coming to Elbaf to steal Loki's Devil Fruit. Before we get into the logistics of that, let's talk about some other things in this conversation that clue us in to Loki's Devil Fruit being absolutely insane. Although Loki is not a pirate and he is just a resident and warrior of Elbaf, he still has a bounty, which is the first non-pirate bounty character we've seen in the entire story. It's even specified in the chapter where it says special bounty. This bounty is exclusively given to him, not because he's a pirate, but because he is still that much danger to the world government. And on top of that, it's 2.6 billion berries. That is nothing to sneeze at. And of course, in the previous chapter, we had the rest of the Elbaf citizens literally telling us that his Devil Fruit was one of the greatest Devil Fruits they had ever seen. So on top of that, now that we know the world government has issued him a 2.6 billion berry bounty, even though he is not a pirate, it's pretty much confirmed that this guy is strong and has some unheard of godly Devil Fruit to his name. Now, if that's not enough to convince you that Blackbeard would want something like this, he is a Devil Fruit hunter after all, let's look at some of the other context clues in this conversation that show us Blackbeard might be showing up in the future. Loki's gang of bandits mention that Shanks, the Yonko, has made his way down to the undead world of Elbaf to visit Loki for some reason. Although Loki's quick-wittedness to try and get Luffy to do his bidding by insulting Shanks almost gets his head blown off, he does leave us with a little bit of information that leaves us wondering why Shanks was there in the first place. His crew states that they were knocked out the last time he came, which obviously means he wasn't there for just a friendly visit. And Luffy tells us this too. He states that Shanks wouldn't just wander down to see Loki for no reason. There's some kind of plot connecting here. To even further cement this point, the reason that Shanks has gone to see Loki has to be some bit of valuable information because Loki is using it as a bargaining chip to make Luffy go get the keys to unlock his chains. So it has to be worth something as far as information goes. If you ask me, this is a pretty simple puzzle to solve. The entirety of Shanks' existence in One Piece, apart from fawning over Luffy's progress, has been to try and stop Blackbeard. We see him go to Whitebeard to ask Ace to stop pursuing Blackbeard because of how dangerous he is, and in the end of Wano, we see him checking up with his crew on different tidbits of information on Blackbeard's whereabouts, wondering why he didn't show up in Wano. It seems like Shanks' entire purpose in the story, or at least the reason he formed a pirate crew, was to keep Teach in check. For some reason, he has a grudge against Blackbeard or understands how dangerous he can be and is doing damage control to try and keep the man contained. Which then brings us to this encounter between Loki and Shanks. Why would Shanks be going to Loki? Well, like I just said, his entire purpose is keeping Blackbeard in check, so obviously he'd want to make sure someone with the most powerful Devil Fruit on the planet is kept locked up in a very secret place that Blackbeard cannot reach. Hence why he goes to check up on Loki and make sure that guy is not getting out. This is also reinforced by the fact that Shanks has always been shown on Elbaf as if it's his territory or home turf. He's even friends with Dorian Broggy and all the giants on Elbaf, probably because he wanted to station himself in a place where he can constantly keep watch over this mythical Devil Fruit. There's really no other reason for Shanks to pick Elbaf as his homeland. It's not like he needs the protection from the giants, or he even needs to protect them. Individually, both forces here are incredibly strong, and there doesn't really need to be a relationship. But what Shanks does need to do is make sure that that man tied to the tree does not get out and Blackbeard does not find him. This is why Shanks checked up on Loki, and this is why Shanks is always on Elbaf. That being said, however, I think it's safe to say Blackbeard, yet, does not know about Loki's Devil Fruit. If he had known how powerful this Devil Fruit was and what his capabilities were, I think it's safe to say he would have gone to Elbaf already and tried to take it for his own. As for what those capabilities are, I think again this is something we might have found out with Luffy and Loki's conversation this chapter. And if what I'm about to say is true, Blackbeard will want this fruit at the cost of anything. Before Loki used the information about Shanks as a bargaining chip, his original bargaining chip was that he would erase any pirate crew that Luffy wanted. Again, this does lend to the Devil Fruit's strength, because if he can just wipe out any pirate crew that Luffy picks, he obviously has to be very strong, but I think there's an even bigger implication in this sentence. Like I said before, Loki is not a pirate. He has not been out to sea as far as we know. He has a special bounty because he doesn't go out to sea. He's not a pirate, like I just said. So how does he know he's able to take on any pirate crew, or even find any pirate crew? Is this just jargon? Is it just a bluff to get Luffy to do what he wants? I don't think this is the case, and I actually think it has something to do with what the Devil Fruit's powers are. If Loki was going to follow through on this promise and destroy any pirate crew that Luffy wanted, this Devil Fruit would have to have some kind of ability to locate someone or track someone down. Whether it's a paramecia that's able to do this or some kind of mythical zone creature that has this power, I think it fits with being absolutely overpowered like everyone in the series has stated so far, because the ability to locate someone across the vast islands of the Grand Line, and perhaps even teleport there or get to that location immediately, would be the most overpowered power in the entire series. And the reason Blackbeard would want this power is because Blackbeard is one step away from his main goal, and that step is finding the man marked by flames, the man on the jet black boat with the last poneglyph. We know through Blackbeard's conversation with Aokiji that he has no leads on this person, and it is the last step he needs to getting to the One Piece. So if Blackbeard found out that there was a man with a devil fruit on Elbaf that was capable of tracking this man down with his powers and immediately getting to him, he's going to want to go and get that fruit. As for how Blackbeard will get this information, I think there's multiple ways this could happen. We know Caribou has been on the Straw Hats as a stowaway for a long time, and he could know they're headed to Elbaf right now, so his original intent going to Elbaf could be to capture the Straw Hats. Or there's plenty of Elbaf characters we've already been introduced to that are a little shady, so maybe they have some information for Blackbeard or some ties to the pirates in the outside world. But what's more important than Blackbeard getting this information is what it means for the future of the arc. The One Piece fandom has been waiting for Blackbeard to meet Shanks and for that fateful battle to happen for the entire series. We don't have time in the series for Elbaf to be an isolated arc where the main villain is from Elbaf and then the consequences of the arc have nothing to do with the final war and the future of the story. The final antagonist of Elbaf will be Blackbeard when he arrives there to steal Loki's fruit. He's going to fight Shanks, who is trying to prevent Blackbeard from getting that fruit. He will kill Shanks, spurring on the fight between Blackbeard and Luffy and the race for the One Piece, now that Blackbeard will have access to the last poneglyph. This also leaves so many different ties for other characters to get their moment as well, where if the Red Hair Pirates come to stop Blackbeard, we get to see Yasopp and Usopp's reunion, and if Loki dies to Blackbeard's hands, that leaves a giant new hammer for Usopp's possession to get a huge power-up in Elbaf. And of course, there's more room in this brawl than you might think. Law and Kid are still at sea, potentially alive, still having a purpose for the rest of the story. They could easily join this giant conflict that's about to go down at Elbaf. The battle is about to begin, and whether it's to get Loki's Devil Fruit, or just come and see Robin's new haircut, there is so many characters coming to Elbaf to fight, and we're not too far away from the final arc exploding into a frenzy of character deaths. Hopefully next week's chapter we get a little more information about where Shanks was, why he went to see Loki. Maybe it was to prevent Blackbeard from getting that devil fruit, or it was something else, and we're going to find out soon. No break next week, so until next time.